And we are live. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to yet another live stream. My name's Lewis, also known as MrCameraJunkie, MCJHD. But if it's your first time here, my name's Lewis. Welcome to the stream. Make sure you say hello in the comments and in the stream and introduce yourself to the Camera Junkie crew. Today is episode 74 of the weekly Camera Junkie live stream. So I thank you as always for taking the time to hang out at Club Camera Junkie. As always, let's see who's here. Let's say what's up to the crew. Hopefully everything's coming through and everything's sounding correct, because funny to mention it that apparently last week's episode was so good that nobody even bothered to mention that none of my sound effects were working, even though while I was pressing the buttons talking about the sound effects. So I found that hilarious, and now I got that under control, so that's all coming through as it should. All right, so let's see who's here right off the bat. Okay, first we have Louis Lazuka is actually saying that he's first. Okay, let's fix this up real quick here, because his comment's a little low. There we go. It should be right around there. That looks much better. All right, and let's lock that in. For those of you who don't know, I happen to use Ecamm, so this entire live stream, everything that you see here is powered by Ecamm. And if you want to try it, there's a link down there which will give you traditionally a 2-week free trial. But if you actually create an account and use the code MCJ, Mr. Camera Junkie, you'll actually get your first 30 days free. So take advantage of that. I highly recommend it. As you can see, not only do I do my weekly live streams, but all of my productions are actually done through this program. I haven't put a memory card in my camera in a long time. So with that being said, let's go. We had Lewis saying hello. We also have Kathy stopping in saying hi. Okay, Lewis is saying fire emojis with hands. He said, saw you in the other stream. It was fun. Yes, that was fun actually, Lewis. And yeah, that's a cool stream. They were having, a little bit of technical difficulties, but it still sounded good. So like the content was still good. So that's all you can say about that. They're getting good, high quality recordings that at the end of the day is going to be a good product. Okay, it says, how am I doing and how's my baby boy? He's fine. He's right there. He's just hanging out. You might hear him playing with some toys. He's just fed, taken care of, make sure that he's good to go before I start the live stream, so that he could maybe potentially ask as little of me as possible, so that this could run as smooth as possible. But he's the boss. He runs the show. Kevin is in the house. How are you doing, sir? He's saying hello to all. Also as well, master moderator, the Paul Duncan, saying hello to the fam. Says Kevin says listening and working tonight. Oh, well, we appreciate you, sir. Always, I appreciate you, sir. Okay, Miss Annalyn Talkin saying hello, fam. How are you doing? I believe excuse me. I first saw you in India's stream when I did her live stream. I believe that's where I seen you before. But welcome to the Camera Junkie live stream, and thank you for saying hello. All right, John is also here saying hello. Jared Spink in the house, also saying the same. Randy saying, looking good, Lewis. Love your shirt. Thank you. Actually, yes, this was part of Sammy Superstar's Mastering Your Live Stream, or Mastering Your Interviews. It was the online event that he asked me to be a part of. I'm very gracious that he allowed me to take part in that said event. And this was just a little gift from him, and I actually love the shirt. As you can see, it says Mastering Your Interviews, and always high quality because it comes from Press and Sew. So if you haven't heard, I use all of my merch and everything, including my mugs, can all be found through the merch store located also in the description. So just look for the green boxes down below and you'll be able to find everything that I'm talking about. The merch one is the one that will actually lead you to the Press and Sew website, where you can find all of this, including Sammy Superstar, Doc Rock, a variety of different content creators. And that's basically the platform right there where you can find all of the content creators merchandise, and you can just pick and choose and fill up your basket from a variety of different creators and do one checkout, making it very convenient. But the Nixons, they rock it out all the time and they're always highly appreciated. Says MCJ4K. Yeah. MCJ4K, right? MCJHD. It just had a funny ring to it. So I had to throw that out there. All right. We also have Carlos here saying hello to everyone. Hope everyone's well. Mr. Peter Gregg, thank you for stopping by. Great live stream last night, as always. Okay. Says, okay, let me see what it says here. It says, okay, so he's sending that to Luis Lazuka. Okay, so we have Alberto here saying hello, saying hola Luis, saludos. How are you doing, sir? And Miss Allen actually saying to hit the like button, fam. So that's true. If you're here, make sure that you just hit that like button. It's highly appreciated. It costs nothing, but it shows that we're doing something good here. And something that I rarely ask, but if you get a chance during the week, let someone know about the Camera Junkie live stream, because it's through the word of mouth and letting other people know of the quality and the fun that you're getting here on a weekly basis, so that we can build this family over and just keep growing it bigger. All right, Dr. Elo's also in the house. Oh snap, 4K. Always in 4K, but powered by Ecamm. Lewis has a question, but if you do guys have questions, please put a Q in front of them so that I can order those easier, so that I can search through them. All of this, like, once again, through the power of Ecamm. Says, Lewis, how do I stay so humble when others talk too much? Okay, I don't know about others, right? I only worry about myself. But with that being said, being humble is just having a simple understanding that things could always be worse. So it's not to always have like a negative look. It's actually to constantly stay positive. And it's to basically just understand that what we have, every single little thing that we have, is such an amazing luxury. It could be my age, that I grew up, you know, like from the 80s, and also coming from a little bit of a rural island, you know, in Puerto Rico, especially in those times. So if you could imagine how outdated the 80s were, Puerto Rico was even that, you know, like behind. So I literally grew up with rotary phones on the island, and then upgraded to more digital phones over here in the United States, but then also, you know, grew up with the digital age and, you know, 56K modems, and literally losing your internet because somebody decided to call your house and you had no idea who it was, because there was no such thing as caller ID at that time. It was literally pick up the phone and like, who this? So, you know, coming from those times and seeing the progression of technology and to the point to where we're at now, and I could imagine what the next 20 years is going to bring up, especially now that we're dealing with Web 3.0, so on and so forth. It's just mind-boggling. But I guess that's one thing that's allowed me to try to stay humble, and I just try, because I only do my best. About everyone else, don't worry about it. Yes, and Kevin is giving the information as well that if you are new to Ecamm, use code MCJ for 30-day free trial. Absolutely. All right. I ask every week what mic we're using. It's crispy. Well, we know this microphone already. This is the one that I made myself, so I appreciate it. But one thing that I've noticed is that the more gear that I tried to fix bad audio, the worse it got. It's just adding more links to the chain. So I was even using the DBX 286S, but it was because I still needed a preamp. Once I was able to connect this one, and the Zoom PodTrack P4 actually has substantial amounts of gain. But the key here, I'm gonna tell you the truth, the key here is my new Mac Studio. My new Mac Studio right now is doing a lot more audio processing on the fly than I ever asked my Mac Mini to do. So right now I have Audio Hijack, and Audio Hijack is where I've added the preamp, so to speak, or in this case, post amp. But I've added a 3 times boost on the low high quality signal that I'm getting directly from this microphone, and now that is what's being pumped into Ecamm and giving me appropriate levels. And with those appropriate levels, then we're not clipping and everything sounds clear. But instead of actually, you know, I'm still thinking about getting like one of those you know, like a preamp in line to see exactly how it works. But right now the Mac Studio is doing all of the extra processing, and because this thing is running so freaking fast, it's able to do all of the processing. I was trying to see if I can get like a readout. Let me see if I do this real quick. Yeah, right now it's doing everything, including pushing out the live stream, is running like at 40% of CPU capacity. I could honestly tell you, not even worried about RAM, but the audio is because it's being run through Audio Hijack, and I'm really liking the results. So thank you again. Oh, well, the next question that he had was, did the M1 Mini versus Studio make a difference with streaming? I think you just heard my answer, so there you go. And she says, yes, that was correct. That was India's stream. Great memory. Thank you, thank you. All right. Says, oh, that's right. She says, enjoying your stream from Japan. That's amazing. If you can, let me know what time it is over there. That's very interesting to me. And everyone, if you haven't done it before, or if you have, let me know where you're watching from right now. That's going to be a lot of fun to see exactly where everyone's tuning in from. Oh, we also have Adam. Adam's Exploits is in the house. Says, I'm bad at pressing. I can't sew a lick. Says, oh, I guess he's talking about pressing, so I get it now. All right. It says Steam Deck buttons for the win. Absolutely. Let's do this, right? We got my overhead cam, right? And the Steam Deck, I got, as you can see, all of my scenes right there listed. It's letting me know that we have 16 people here in the house, and we have 11 likes. So you guys are hurting my feelings a little bit, but it's okay. But if you haven't done so, remember to hit that like button. Do that. I highly appreciate it. But as you can see now, as I talk about sound effects, like this week, you get to hear them. But the Stream Deck then allows me to bring it back and actually hit this button here, which starts the camera rotation, which I've already set with Ecamm. I absolutely love this program. It's what allows me to produce such a high level live stream week in and week out by doing it by myself as a single father, hanging out, taking care of everything, and still being able to get secondary angles, tertiary angles, and even overhead cams. All right. Excuse me. All right. And we will continue to do this. Says Lewis working the Stream Deck. Absolutely. Michael H. Silver Screen Paradise. Need to share the love. Thank you, sir. Well, thank you for stopping by. And I'm just guessing that your name is Michael, so thank you for saying what's up and not lurking. My name's Lewis, and welcome to the Camera Junkie live stream. And yes, if you got a question, please put a Q in front of it. If not, it's just a comment. Okay, and we do have our first question. Well, not our first, but the first one with a Q. Says, I know this sounds like a dumb question. I digress. I'll continue. There's no dumb questions, but we'll go. I'm looking to purchase a real camera. What is the purpose of the memory card, and how does it impact your camera's performance? Okay, that's actually a good question, especially if you don't know. Well, the thing is that traditionally, I'm going to pull out another camera over here. A camera like this is a DSLR. So you can see this is my Nikon. This is a 5100. Yes. 5100. Basically, you got your camera body. You also have your lens, right? And it's going to do all of the processing plus a battery to charge it up. And once you turn it on, you go to shoot a picture, you're going to need a memory card. Now I'm going to go to the overhead cam over here so we can see. And in this particular camera, we have a little spot here for the memory card. So this is your film in case if this was a film camera. So, where you're going to capture the memories, the photographs or the video that you're going to take with your camera. So, when we're talking about a full-size camera, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have, actually 10 times out of 10, you're going to have some type of memory module there, whether it's an SD card or a new upgraded type of card that they have in the newer models. What are they? The CFast, the type A's, type B's, there's so many, but traditionally in most cameras you're going to find what we call SD cards, or standard digital memory cards. This one's 64 gigabytes. So I will insert this into my camera, and now all the photographs that I take with this camera, so for instance, if I were to just turn it on, it's not enough light right now. Oh no, I got a lens cap on it. There we go, Lewis. All right. There we go. Take a picture. I am now able to review it, and the picture of my desk is now here saved onto that memory card. So now if I wanted to take this memory card, I can now remove it from said camera and insert it right here into the front of my Mac computer. And now I just transferred my photos, videos, everything to the computer. And that's basically what a memory card is for on these cameras. The thing is that inquires that entire process of like recording something, or say you're recording something outside in the field, then you would be required to transfer it from the memory card to your computer so that you can manipulate the photos or the video via editing or whichever type of application that you're going to use with it. That's it in a nutshell. Then on top of that, the reason why I said it is because right now this entire production, I have all the cameras that you see here connected through the program Ecamm, and they're all flashing at me no memory card, because all of my memory cards are right here on this nice little stack here on top of my computer for when I need to use them. But right now for this entire production, everything is being controlled through my computer, through Ecamm, being recorded onto the hard drive directly in my computer, which now if I wanted to then edit those files through my program, Final Cut Pro, iMovie, Resolve, whatever it may be, the files are already on my hard drive, and I don't have to use the memory card to transfer the files from each one of these individual cameras onto my computer. So it saves all of that process, and everything's already there That's the convenience of Ecamm. So I can record an entire talking head video like this. I can have it rotating as I'm doing so, and all of that's being baked into the file with audio, sound effects, everything. So if I were to do a sound effect here, that it would be in the middle of me talking like I just did there on purpose. Instead of just having it like that, it also separates the audio where I can remove that sound effect from the final production file when I edit, because it's actually accepting all of these channels separately. So it's an amazing program. I can't speak highly enough about it. All right, James Hicks is also in the house, man. We got a full house here. Let me not get too backed up on the chat as well. Okay, so Albert says, I love the DBX 286S. Go to Rodecaster. Well, you see, that's the whole thing. Right now, I just have this microphone going directly into my Zoom PodTrack P4, and that is sending all of the information via USB directly into my computer. Then once it's in my computer, I have Audio Hijack doing the boosting and controlling of the audio and sending that to you guys directly through Ecamm. It's a lot less things to carry around. Right now it's just a microphone and my PodTrack P4, and I'm really liking the sound. Okay. Did you always focus on yourself versus value in others people's opinions? How did you overcome impressing others? That's actually a really good question, Lewis. So I'm going to go ahead and answer it. I've mentioned it before. It's when you come to the realization that people's praise and people's criticism comes from the same location, and that location is ignorance. And it's not to disregard anyone's praise or criticism, because that's where you say you got to take things with a grain of salt. But at the end of the day, you need to know that someone's opinion of you does not define you. And that's what it is. So, you know, I believe that every person here has experienced someone saying a complete and blatant lie about them, right? A lie that is so far-fetched, right, that when you're faced with it, your only reaction is to laugh. You're like, really? That's so absurd. Like, I would never have thought of it. And you need to carry that same type of mentality that you had at that moment to like most things, to just about everything. Like, understand that people's opinions, no matter what they could say, do not define you. But at the same time, you also have to know how to define yourself, because how you define yourself is what you actually do in secret, or like when nobody's watching, right? And when you understand that when nobody's watching, you're still a good individual, I guess that's what has allowed me to stay humble. So this is just amazing that you asked this question, because this is also something that just happened this week. So I'm gonna share this with you guys. Let me just check here, make sure, you know. Okay, we're not too far off, okay, from the back of the line. So earlier this week, somebody reached out to me on Facebook, and they were like, hey, are you the Lewis that worked at such and such restaurant, so on and so forth? If so, like please get in contact with me, right? Like something of that sort. And I was like, okay. So it was through Facebook. So I check the profile and I don't recognize the face. I don't recognize the name. I don't recognize nothing. So I responded and I'm like, hey, yeah, I am the person from said restaurant, right? I did work there. My name is Lewis, but I can't recall your face. And right away he was like, oh, bro, you worked with my sister, and so on and so forth, and blah, blah, blah. If this is you, I'm so glad that I found you, because apparently he's been looking to get in contact with me for years. And it was someone that I met over 15 years ago, and he just wanted to let me know that I was such a good influence in his life. I cannot tell you how that made my day. To understand that someone has been looking for me to just pretty much thank me because I was a good influence in their life when they were 16 years old, and he was hanging around his older sister that worked with me at the restaurant. It was just, and I sit here and I tell you that I stay humble because I don't think there's a better way for anyone to reach out to someone after 15 years, you know, to say like, hey, I've been looking for you, just to tell you thank you for being such a different person, for being an inspiration to me when I was 16. And I stood here and I stay and I'm still in shock about this experience. I was able to get in contact with this individual. His name is Chris, and we had a really good talk because of course I remembered who he was. And as soon as he mentioned that it was his sister, I was like, oh, I know exactly who I'm talking about. But prior to that, he never worked at the restaurant. That's why I couldn't put him as an employee there, as a coworker. And then, you know, now we're in contact, and it's just an amazing story that I'm glad that I was able to share with you guys, because if it was one thing, it allowed me to realize that I've been a pretty decently good person for a long time, you know, and I guess that my energy, like what you see here, even though I give a lot of credit to what I've been able to accomplish as of late to my son Aiden, I still feel that, you know, this was just a little something to let me know that I've been a pretty good dude for a long time, you know, so you know, it was such an amazing experience for me, and I'm glad that I was able to share that with you guys. So, okay, getting back to this before we even talk about camera lenses that I haven't even got to. So, okay, we're starting to get some of the information here. She's saying it's Sunday, 12. Okay, wow. So it's already like, well, yeah, the next day, but we are about 13 hours ahead. Okay, that's good to know. Okay, so we have, yes, near the Canadian border, northeast Minnesota, we have John. Albert's in Arizona. Lewis is in Canada. What part of Canada exactly? Like west or east coast, so to speak? Like, says, thanks so much. You've cleared up well. Oh my God. When you said film, it clicked instantly. Yeah, because that's basically, you know, just to touch on it real quick, the difference between a digital, just like the one that I had there, the DSLR, is digital single lens reflex. An old film camera was just a single lens reflex. The thing that it didn't have was the D, which stands for digital, meaning that you were using film. If you were to take that same exact camera, right, the same or the same SLR film camera, and instead of having film in the back, replace it with a digital sensor that will capture the image the same way and record that to a memory card, you have now officially made your old school film SLR camera into a DSLR camera, and now it's digital. Basically, actually, to tell you the truth, they're actually been doing that with some of the old, I believe, Hasselblad, you know, top-down cameras that had the big full format film. square, the big chunks like this, they've actually created a module that's completely digital with a sensor that size so that you can attach it to all of the old vintage cameras, use all of those lenses, but now record the image digitally. So that goes to show you. All right, but I'm happy to help. Says, good evening. Yes, Dale is also in the house. I guess he's from Arkansas, so he didn't have to answer. Charles Richard, how are you doing, sir? I know he's also here in this lovely state of Florida. He's in Orlando. Says, Lisa Nichols says, someone else's opinion of you is none of your business. Exactly. Oh, we got Melanie in the house. How are you doing? Saying hello to everyone. Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday to you as well. Okay. Says, you're right. Gratitude is the real thank you. Well, it is. You have to be grateful about everything that you have, because it could always be worse. So everyone's still saying hi to everyone. Says, that's amazing. We never know how much we have impact on them. I recently reached out to someone from 10 years ago who left an impact on me. We need to let them know. Yeah, and that's something that, just that you mentioned as well, Melanie, because I'm someone that has mentioned here that I want to give people their flowers while they're still around. And that's exactly what I got. I got someone reaching out to me for over 16 years to just give me my flowers real time, and I was so humbled by it. Like, still am. Super cool. Super cool. All right. Says, I've really impacted so many people, including me. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Says, well, such a blessing. Our impact stretches far and wide. That's why we have to be positive influences on everyone we meet. Absolutely. And make the best of everything. Make the best of every day. Excuse me. But I remember working at, I'm going to say now, I was working at Benihana restaurant in Miami. It was back then when I was bartending, and a lot of interesting people that I met at that location, and he was one of them. But it was very interesting. I vividly remember him and his sister, and it was just super, like, I was really taken back. So I'm still extremely humbled and extremely shocked over that entire experience. Okay, so Lewis has a question. Says, how important is praising people and letting them know that they are loved? Give flowers. Imagine if he didn't tell you. That's what I said. It's very important, because the other thing about that is that it's something that I've learned recently as well. You have to learn how to be a good receiver, right, of the gratitude as well. That's what I said. Like, this person's gratitude, right, is so far beyond someone telling me that I made a great video on YouTube. It's like the weight that it carries, you can't even compare, because of the simple reason that, like, someone giving you praise or applause for something that you created on this platform is not the same as someone reaching out and telling you the difference that you've created in their life, and the effect that has taken, like the ripple effect that has carried on throughout the years, that they haven't forgotten me as an individual and have been like looking for me, to the point that was like the emphasis of the conversation. Like, it was like, yo, if this is you, I finally found you. Like, those words were so impacting. Like, I finally found me. Like, you've been looking for me. And that is where you see me here with this grin on my face that I can't take it off, because of the impact that now this individual has left on me. But going back to what you said, you get this immense sense of like fulfillment when you gift something to someone, right? When you gift something to someone, is like you get this entire sense of like joy. And if you were not able to receive said gifts, praise, or whatever it is, then you are effectively removing the ability of joy in somebody else's life. So that's where I've learned to be a better receiver of these gifts, of these flowers. Because in the same way, by you being a better recipient of all of that, and it's positive energy, then at the same time, you're able to then give that back to them in the fulfillment that they get by gifting you whatever it is that they so wanted to. Hopefully that makes sense. So, it's always looking at things with a bigger picture in mind, because whenever you look at things solely through your point of view, to me, it's kind of like being a bit selfish. So you have to understand that if somebody has gone out of their way to do something for you, be thankful of that person, be grateful, because they didn't have to do any of that. And that's why I sit here and I stay amazed at my camera junkies that come in and week out to hang out with me and spend their time, which is their most prized possession. The thing that we can never get a refund for. So, all right. Okay, so he says Vancouver, Canada, above Seattle. That's a good, perfect illustration. So you're up there. It says basically Hollywood, North Pole. That's funny. But yeah, you're on the upper West Coast. Okay, so Michael's also saying that he's from Orlando. That's great. I should be going to Orlando soon. I was actually there not too long ago meeting up with Dan C. Bearded and the whole community. That was just the end of last month. But I just got word that I believe there's a Podfest, right? Like Podcaster Fest. Something happening in Orlando. There's a couple of friends of mine that are going to be there. So if I could go, I'm going to try. For those of you who don't know, I believe Shelly Saves the Day. She's going to be over there. So I'm waiting for her to send me some of that info to see if I can make it. Okay, so it says, what is the reason why people don't reach out? Is it their ego or their pride? I don't know. I could have an opinion, but it would only be my own. And that's the whole thing. I've reached out, but I would say if it's something like that, if I'm reading the question correctly, if it's like if you're in need and you need to reach out, or if you want to reach out to gift someone to someone, I'm not sure that if you're willing to gift something to someone that you would have a problem reaching out. But if it's something that you need something from someone, then I would have to probably say pride more than ego could probably have to do with it. Well, excuse, get out of here. All right. Oh, Paul Duncan said you can have that coffee mug. Yes, this amazing Upgrade Your Skills coffee mug, which is one of the channel monikers here. Upgrade your skills before your gear. That's just understanding the equipment that you have already could lead you to avoid purchasing gear that you don't need, like today's topic. And I think John's talking about it right now. Excited about your topic. It says, I just picked up the second GM lens, really enjoying the 24 millimeter and the 16 to 35. Okay, so you have both of those, says John. He has the 24 and the 16 to 35. I don't have any G Master lenses, right? And that's just because I've invested into the APS-C line on purpose, just to avoid the much higher price tag, or like I was saying, the GM tax, right? The G Master tax. Okay. Let's see. We're just scrolling down here because I'm about to talk about this to see if we have any other immediate questions. Okay, Kevin saying he thinks that Rob Balasabas is at Podfest. Charles is asking about the Podfest. I'm finding out. I just heard about it today on Shelly's live stream, and I told her to DM me the info. If she doesn't get it to me, I'm gonna need to check that out. Okay, so we do have a question here. It says, what camera lens do you recommend for your overhead camera? Honestly, if you could, right, I could honestly tell you this is my iPhone XR right over here. And this is just giving me kind of like the crane shot overhead where you can see the majority of my setup here. With that being said, I think if you have an extra iPhone, you could easily have that connected through a variety of different applications. I'm using Epoch Cam, but Camo is actually like rising up in the ranks for me. I think I'm gonna switch over to Camo because of all the options that it has. And if you were going to use it as an overhead cam, I would definitely recommend most likely going with the Camo application, for the simple reason that it's going to give you a lot more granular control, and you can use a secondary iPhone. So I'm just gonna go right here real quick. This is an iPhone, what is this? It's iPhone 6s. iPhone 6s backup phone, right? Still it's being catered by Apple, so this model, including the iPhone 6, but definitely the 6s, still has the latest firmware allowing the latest applications, including Camo, to be installed. Then I had bought this little thing here, so let me go to my overhead cam to show you. Boom. I got this guy right here, right? And you see dual screen clips is just because I got two, right? But all you need is one screen clip. So let's go over here. Let me see if I grab another light. Where did I put my magnet lights? Oh, here they are. Okay, just adding some extra light here. Okay, check this out. This is a simple little clip. Come on, let's focus. Simple little plastic clip. It looks like a hair clip, but as you can see, it's got these two little springy sides, two separate sides. And what you do is you would take said phone, clip, take this side, and you clip it to the top of your laptop, anything like so. Connect this to your computer, and this now becomes your webcam or your main cam or your overhead cam. A variety of different clips, a variety of different, options that you have with high tech that is not the latest tech. So with that being said, I would highly recommend using something that you already have. A $20 webcam, anything for an overhead cam should do. But as you can see, even with an expensive DSLR, to get the best image out of it to show you all, I had to just implement a little bit of extra light, because as the saying goes, it's lights, camera, action. Meaning lights first, then you deal with the camera, and then you roll it and you hit action. So light is always your best friend and is always the most important when it comes to any shot. Okay, so let's see where we're at. Boop, boop, boop. I love this song. Okay, I believe there's quite a few Ecamm fam going to be presenting. Okay, this is good information. Okay, so Caleb's here as well, saying hi and hello to everyone. Excuse me. Okay, so Charles says, how do I like the new Atomos cloud live streaming system? It seems very interesting because what I saw was that it actually is sending up proxies, but it's an extra like $400 onto the Atomos system, which is also not expensive. I mean, that's also not cheap. So it really all depends. Is like, do you buy the system and then that's included as like a service that you don't have to pay for, or now this is an incremented added cost to actually host the cloud service? So there's still a lot of questions there, but technology seems cool. Just don't know how they're gonna implement it and charge for it. Yep. Says, oh, that clip is fire, and it's super easy, dude. Like on top of a laptop. Another one that I found that I have here, but it's just things that I'm putting together so that when people have the questions. This one is another clip that just you're able to clip onto like a full screen. So I'll be able to put it here, and then on top of that put like an iPhone or anything of that sort and clip it so that it could hang in the middle of my screen, giving you a much better experience, almost like a confidence monitor type of experience right on your laptop. So a lot of options, but those are for things that are happening behind the scenes. The reason why I got these clips is just to get as much information and put it together. But now let's get into tonight's topic, okay? Because tonight's topic is the new G Master 24 to 70. You know, let's talk about this. I'm gonna bring this camera now. Reason why I'm bringing this camera is because it has, oh, excuse me. The reason why I'm pulling out this camera is because it actually has my 24 to 70 lens on it right now. Right now I have it on my APS-C camera, so it's not exactly the same type of equivalent, but let's talk about this lens. This 24 to 70, it's an amazing lens, but it depends on what type of photography or video that you're doing. If it's something that you should even be thinking about. Second, if you already have the version 1, then I don't think that this is something that you should be looking into, because when it comes to the image quality, they're pretty much well off on the first one, you know. Okay, so thanks for stopping in, Miss Allen. All right. Okay, so we're getting some questions coming in. Okay, so let me continue. Thank you for stopping by. I was just reading some things, but I know my moderators will take care of things. Okay, let's answer this question. Is Sony about to have a renaissance period? I have the Sony FX3, and I think they're about to modernize all their lenses to maybe a new APS-C. Well, I'm hoping, but that's what I was gonna mention, that they have been revamping their lens lineup to actually keep up with their new technology, like these, what is it, 50 frames a second at 50 megapixels or something that the A1 is shooting. I kind of forget. Actually, I think it's 30 frames a second that it's shooting at. But at the same time, what I was mentioning about this lens is, like, if you had the generation 1, I don't think there's a need for you to get this one over the image quality. Now, if you do have maybe the A1, it could be something that you're looking to invest in, but I also will have to reiterate that the A1 was designed with GM, the G Master Series version 1 in mind. It works perfectly fine with all of that glass. So if you're a sports photographer, things like that, that's not who I'm talking about. You already know what equipment you're going to be getting or not getting. This is more is like the FOMO crowd. They're like, oh, am I gonna be missing out? If you have Mark 1, don't worry about it. This is just a slight revamp, right? A couple of things if you really want to, if they're up your alley, like the aperture ring that's now available, the full customization, it being just a little bit smaller. It says it's 22% lighter, which could be a thing that is, up to you. But at the same time, the price tag on this lens is pretty hefty. When you start talking about $2,300, if it's something that, I guess the best way that I can put it in a nutshell, if you were already saving for the G Master, then save just a little bit more to get, the Mark II. But if you already had the Mark 1, you're in a good place, and this is not really a lens that's going to make that much of a difference in anything besides maybe being a little bit lighter. But when you have it on the camera, I don't think you're going to notice it that much. The dual linear motors that you have on this new system are good, but it's not like the ones in the previous G Master were bad. And it's a great lens, but also at the same time, it's not something that's even available, because the only thing that Sony actually did was announce it. And when it comes to chip shortages and all the types of shortages that you can be found right now, I think your money could be better spent in a different, area. But it's really up to you. I just didn't see anything. Like for me, I don't have the G Master series because it's on a budget, right? Let's be honest. If I had an unlimited budget, I'd probably have G Master everything. But speaking truthfully, for what I do and the way that my workflow is, this is not something that's really necessary right now. I have still using the F4 version of the 24-70 because for me, the optical stabilization, the OSS, is more important. Most of the times when I'm using this lens, I can flood the image with light, whether it be indoors or outdoors, to get the exposure correctly, and then get the added benefits of recording video with handheld motions built in. And I'm just giving you my 2 cents here now. I've gotten sliders, I've gotten gimbals, I've gotten all the extra tech, and what I realize is that I still prefer my shots being handheld. Whether it's the creativity that I can get in a whip pan or anything like that, for myself, I just still prefer even the B-roll of the handheld. And even if it's something just as weird as just me being, cuckoo and saying, hey, I guess that's my own signature in the shot, right? Like, only I'm gonna be able to hold the camera the way that I hold the camera. So the same way that I would have a signature that would be my own on a piece of paper, I would also have the signature of like the MrCameraJunkie camera shake. That's individual to me and also part of my signature of my videos, something that cannot be replicated at all. And it's probably things that people don't notice, but it's something that I prefer. And now that's why I have this bad boy. Like, this is what I rock, just because it has the OSS and it gets the shots that I need. Anything in particular in the focal range that I would need like that high quality prime lens for, I actually have the prime lenses. So whenever I need to go for something faster than, the F4, I know that I'm going to reach for my f1.8s, my f1.4s, my f1.6s, things like that are going to be my fast primes that are going to put me where I want to be. But that's my own workflow. So it's here, there. But I cannot take it away, because if it's one thing that I have to, give the flowers where they're due, is that Sony is revamping their entire lineup, and they're doing it through the glass. So there will be no limitations. We're gonna quickly get up to about 70, I believe 70 full frame lenses in the E-mount lineup, and that's not including the E-mount lenses, which are for the APS-C line, and that's also not including third party like Sigma and Tamron, so on and so forth. So when it comes to Sony, I think they're in a good position. A funny thing that I hear is, people saying like, oh, this camera company is gonna go down and things like that, and like Sony's gonna crumble, and I find it comical for the simple reason that Sony in particular is not just a camera company. So like Sony PlayStation could hold up the camera division if they wanted to. So the fact that Sony is putting their R&D into this field, hey, we're all lucky, and the fact that each one of these companies, whether it's Canon, Nikon, Sony, Olympus, whoever, right, that they're coming out with some new type of technology, including, speaking about it, DJI is coming out with a camera, I believe, or like a medium format type camera, and that is the rumor that I heard of this week as well. So apparently that because DJI has purchased Hasselblad and they've been using their technology in the drone field, it's going to be a camera body that's similar to like the Hasselblad XD1, which is a medium format camera, and to have DJI coming out with a DSLR mirrorless type camera at all is very interesting, because that company has come for the jugular of any field or division that it's gone for, and including the cinema line with their Cinema 4D and adding like the 4-axis 4D gimbal and stabilization right into a cinema camera. And the thing that I've also heard is that the files that come off of that camera, the DJI RAW files, are easy to work with, easy to manipulate, and easy to color grade in DaVinci Resolve. And now they're taking that to the camera space. So if they come out with some new crazy technology that's gonna blow the doors off of the industry, we're all gonna benefit, because that will only require these other companies like Canon, like Nikon, like Sony to step their game up and bring something new to the table. I did want to spend more time talking about this lens. I'm gonna just make sure to say that if I went over the majority of like the things that I wanted to bring up, because like what I'm noticing is like I'm even looking at graphs, like there's not that much difference when it comes to like what you would call as far as chromatic aberration, whatever issues that you would have with this lens, and these are all going to be inherent because it's a zoom lens. So if you like parfocal, different things like that, that's where I personally don't expect that out of a zoom lens. And I think that you're really getting to the edge of physics when having to move so much glass to get all of these, like images to render correctly on a sensor throughout the focal range. And it's a lot. That's why I think that I also prefer f4s when it comes to this field. And it could just be me, but the f4s that I've used in my life, including this one, or I used to have the Canon L series, the f4 24 to 105. I also think that was an amazing focal range, right? But because you're closing down on the aperture, even if you're using glass that could get you even higher, like f-stops, closing down the aperture and throwing the image stabilization caused a couple of things to benefit to me, which was sharpness and then the flexibility of not having focus breathing so much while focusing throughout the different ranges. So that's what I've noticed more with the F4s, that like for video you don't get as much focus breathing because you're actually closing down the aperture, eliminating some of like the surrounding image itself, I would guess. So I guess the limitation of the F4 could prevent that from actually happening. So that's just been my experiences with it. Yeah, I'm just looking at it, like pretty much the only thing is like the price, $2,300. Like I said, if you could afford it, hey, more power to you, right? But you just have to really put it into use case scenarios, like how much are you going to be using that lens to see if it's worth to be put in your bag. That's it. Like I said, this lens, I wasn't even in the market for this lens, but it impressed me with its quality of like in functionality that I decided to keep it. I had the other, like the kit lens, don't get me wrong, I had the kit lens, the 28 to 75 I believe is the kit lens that comes with the Sony full frame cameras, but at the same time I was using it for video. So for video it was just working fine, especially with the OSS, and it was a 3.5 to 6.3 variable aperture. So even at the 24 millimeters I was still getting a like brighter image by half a stop than this lens, but I would still prefer the F4 because I would most likely stop down just for the extra sharpness on the other lens. Okay, so let's see where we're at. Says, I agree, that's why I like the zoom rocker on some Sony cameras paired with a power zoom. A power zoom, or as well clear image zoom. I actually really like clear image zoom. I do. I actually use clear image zoom on this is what, the NEX6? Dude, just don't get me started. Like the one thing that this camera does not do, man, the one thing that this camera does not do is clean HDMI. Straight up clean HDMI. If this thing had a clean video feed, this would most likely be my camera sitting right here doing this feed, because it does, like, it's not called the same things in this camera. I probably should do a comparison now that I'm talking about it, but it does a lot of the same things, like face tracking for humans, animals, so on and so forth. I'm like, I was just like, yo, this is the same stuff that we're dealing with now, but it's almost like it was just rebranded. Very interesting. Okay, so we have a question. What do you think about the legendary M50 with the Sigma 16mm f1.4 as a secondary main camera? I think that's great. Let me know if you are using Ecamm, right? Because this is the whole thing. The M50 Mark I is the identical camera as the M50 Mark II. The only difference is that the Mark II actually gives you the same thing that I just mentioned, a clean HDMI feed. Meaning, as soon as you connect the HDMI, it's not going to give you all the information that you would see on the back of the camera, like histograms, like how many files you have left in, available to shoot, how many minutes. All of that information will be coming through on the M50 Mark I if you're connecting it via HDMI. The other thing is, what is going on here? Okay. The other thing is that if you're using Ecamm, the geniuses behind this program, Ken and Glenn, realized that a lot of people were using this camera or had this camera but couldn't utilize it because of the dirty HDMI feed. So what they did is that they wrote into their program a way for you to connect it via USB, even if it's the Mark 1, and Ecamm itself would bypass and just get the clean camera feed now. It will not be as latent free or high quality as the HD that you would get from the Mark II being a clean HDMI signal. But if you're using it as your overhead or your secondary camera, a lot of people use it as their main camera, like, because it's actually really good. But you'd be surprised, depending on which one you have. If you have the Mark 1, you can use Ecamm to actually connect it directly to your computer and then have the feed be clean, and Ecamm be able to utilize that computer, and then you'd be able to use it as your secondary or your overhead shot. Now, as far as the lens goes, the 16mm f1.4, that's perfect, because just like I mentioned a little while ago that I prefer using prime lenses for like all of my shots instead of zooms, I do. Right now you're looking at the Sigma 16mm f1.4. I'm using it on the Canon, on the Sony system. That's the Canon system, but the glass is still the same, and that's what's most important. Like I've mentioned before, glass before ass. Optics are always more important than the camera body. That's why I emphasize, if you get the right lens, then the camera really doesn't matter. And that's why I said with the Sigma 16mm, I would be using this 13-year-old camera. Is it 13? No, I'm sorry. 10-year-old camera. 10-year-old camera right there, and I'd be using it in my production. Absolutely. Question: would you get the 24-70 or the 24-105 OSS? I would get the 24-105 OSS. I actually have the 24-240, right? The OSS, but that's a variable aperture. The 24-105, I believe it's not. It's like saying the L series. Aiden, getting aggressive. As you can hear, the boss is getting aggressive with his toys back there. Calm down, buddy. But the 24-105 f4 G lens, not G Master OSS, I would definitely go over that, just because of functionality and price. Like, is both of those things weighed into it. Like, if price was not an option, right? I just tell you the truth, I really like the OSS. I would wish the 24-70, the f2.8 would be OSS, but then that would be a massively huge lens, something oversized and ridiculous, just to try to add all that technology with all that glass, and having a floating, aperture to stabilize as just, yeah. When I really start thinking about it, I was like, that's not really gonna happen. That's why they have to limit the technologies to certain, types. But I also feel that the OSS, if not utilized correctly, could give you blurrier images if you don't know how to do it. That's why they would, I think, and this is just me speculating, that they would just remove that completely, just so that they can have the closest to prime lenses on their 24-70 in their G Master series as they can. Like, the people, and I don't doubt it, it's like walking around with a bunch of different prime lenses on there, and it really depends on the situation. Like, if I were to be doing a beach wedding photo shoot, I would most likely be carrying around or renting something like that, right, and not taking it off my camera, because in those situations you are not going to be switching lenses. Just too much like dirt, sand in the air, mess up your electronics and sensors and dirty the whole thing up. So it just depends on the use case scenario and what you're going to do it, but I prefer OSS. I do. Okay, so Laura Williams is saying hi to all. Welcome. Okay, question: looking at the 24-70 original and the GM2, they have different blade counts, 9 versus 11. Is there an advantage to more blades? That's a great question. The advantage to more blades is if you are a pixel peeper who's going to be looking at the bokeh and zooming in 200% at the blurry round circles in the background in the photos. Now, the aperture blades 9 towards 11 are going to have a significant difference when you're stopping down. So hypothetically, the way that most people use these faster lenses, right, the 2.8s, is what we call wide open, meaning the aperture is going to be wide open. At that point, the blades are not even, they don't matter. So whether you have 9, 11, 19, 28 blades, if you're shooting wide open, you're not going to see a difference. Now, once you start stopping down, right, and start closing down those fairy lights, the bokehs in the background, that's when you're going to see. And older, much older, like vintage lenses, some of them have, you know, like 5 blade apertures in the background, and that's when you would see the bokeh, right, or the lights take the shape of those aperture blades. And sometimes you would hear the sayings of like ninja stars, meaning that it's just all the way that the manufacturers designed their aperture blades is going to be a correct correspondent to the shape of the image of bokeh that you get in the background. So the highest quality bokeh is going to be the most rounded, like, type of images or bokeh balls that you're going to get in the background, and the tightness of the circle is going to determine the quality. So the higher amount of aperture blades is going to give you a more rounded imagery throughout the aperture range comparative to 9, but 9 is also great. When you're going to see stuff is like when you see like 5, right? It looks like a pentagon, right? You see pentagon shaped bokeh. 6 blades is a hexagon, right? Or 6 blades is also where you get a lot of what we call the ninja stars, and that's just because some of them have rounded apertures, and they tend to take like a little extra curve and allow a little bit of extra light, and they really do look like Chinese ninja stars that you would throw in the old, you know, kung fu movies. So a lot of different things, but the aperture all has to do with the bokeh in the background. That's it. I thought about the ZV-E10, and apparently it's impossible to find, so I haven't. Listen, right now, I've been telling a lot of people, man. You see, you said you're still using your iPhone. I would recommend an iPhone right now to pretty much just about everyone. Like, if you're starting out, or even if you're not, like right now, the iPhone, I believe 13 and the new 14 that's coming out or whatever, these are some seriously good cameras that are in these systems. The camera bumps and everything, the space is like mostly camera, and you can tell the difference in the image quality. I would highly recommend it because throughout this chip shortage, this is what's actually could be found right now. I've seen, you can check it for yourself. The ZV-E10 is going for twice the MSRP. Manufacturers, you know, are, what is it, the retail price, the way that they think that it should sell. So Sony sold this camera for $700, and right now they're being sold and shipped $1,500 to $1,900 on eBay, even if they're like open box used kits. People are price gouging not only GPUs but these cameras, and the used market has been a result to it. I've seen it. Cameras that I bought for $100, people are charging astronomical prices. People like, and it's in everything. I think Doc Rock mentioned that he can trade in his truck right now because people need service vehicles, except they can't get new vehicles. So he can go into a dealer and literally sell his truck for what he paid for it 10 years ago. That's the situation that we're in right now. So I could say get your hands on what you could get your hands on. You know, that's it, and it just depends on your system. That's why last year, I'll tell you the truth, I was super fortunate to have bought both of my cameras for similar prices. I bought this one 2 years ago now, in May for my birthday. Wow, 2 years, crazy. I bought this one for $500 2 years ago. I bought this one for $500 last year off of a friend. And shout out to Alicio. Alicio! But I digress. Okay, so Albert is saying that he does use Ecamm. Dude, connect the iPhone right to it and use that as your overhead. But if not, if you have the M50, if you have it, not to invest more money. If you have it, even if it's the Mark 1, you'll be able to utilize it with Ecamm. Okay. Well, guys, we're 20 minutes past the hour. As always, I thank you all for taking the time and spending it here with me. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to smash that like button, punch it right in the face. I appreciate every single one of you for, as always, as I say, it's taking the time, our most precious commodity, and spending it here on the Camera Junkie live stream. We have done it up again, another week number 74, right? That's what I believe was today. So that means next week is another pretty big landmark, 75 consecutive weeks, man. I don't see any end in sight, and I have to once again thank you all for making this such an amazing place for everyone to hang out, for me to come back week in, week out, and spend it with you, such amazing people. Thank you, Paul. You're an amazing moderator, dude. You rock. Kevin, likewise. You guys always holding it down. Bro, like I said, there's no other place that I'd rather be. Club Camera Junkie, week in, week out. This is my funk. This is the way that I love to end my week, and I'm always grateful for all of you amazing people who hang out with me every week. So everyone, have a great week, right? Take care of yourselves and each other, because next week, mark it on your calendars. If you don't have it there, you know what? That's something I'm gonna put this on myself. So Lewis, do this, right? Figure out a way to make a shareable calendar to put this and share that out, to say, hey, you know what, every Saturday 11 o'clock you got a calendar reminder of the Camera Junkie live stream. So I'm gonna put that on myself, just so that I can share that out with you guys, and then it's just a lot easier to say, hey, you know what, where are you gonna be Saturday night? Club Camera Junkie. So everyone, thank you again, have a great week, and I will see you all next time. I forgot to do something, guys. Let's bring this back real quick. If you're still here, I appreciate it, but I'm gonna record this. I'm gonna do this because I did it. Cities Gaw, channels that I think you should go and watch. This one, I wish I had a much bigger story, but this is just another content creator that I've been fortunate to been come across. This is someone that helped me out at the beginning part of my journey. Okay, and this person is Sir Sydney Dionson. Oh, that's the wrong Chrome. That's the Chrome. There we go. Boom. And that's the channel. Like with most people, I would have a much more elaborate story. With him, is just he's just an amazing content creator that, like I said, I was able to find at the beginning parts of my journey. If you haven't checked them out, I highly suggest you do so. If you know Doc Rock, there might be a little Easter egg in there for you as well if you happen to go through his content. But with that being said, guys, thanks once again for still hanging in here. I know there's 8 of you who still were able to catch this. This is just a little rewind, but now I'm gonna go do my fatherly duties, and I will see you all next week. Thanks for hanging in there. See you.